All right, so welcome back to The Edge. Hey, we're all looking for the best opportunities for marketing our companies, in our companies, or for our clients, especially in this time period with the crises that we have. Hey, we've talked a number of times regarding getting into some specialized platforms to be able to reach a more loyal audience. Well, it's time to take a deep look into Quora advertising. We're going to be doing it with JD Prater. He's an evangelist of Quora. We're also going to be talking remote work. It's certainly topical, and we all want to be able to share some information. And we have some checklists for you if you're actually remote working right now. All today on The Edge.
Your weekly digital marketing trends with industry trend-setting guests. You're listening and watching Edge of the Web. Winners of Best Podcast from the Content Marketing Institute for 2017. Hear and see more at edgeofthewebradio.com. Now, here's your host, Aaron Sparks.
All right, so this is Edge of the Web Radio episode 347. I'm your host, Aaron Sparks. Every week we bring you amazing guests to chat about trending digital topics in the digital marketing news space. We unpack a key marketing topic for our digital audience each and every month, whether or not you're part of an agency, freelancer, or part of a firm. This show is for you. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening to our podcast, as well as joining us live here on YouTube. Be sure to check out all of the shows over at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's where we host all the information, all the show notes and videos and transcripts of the show. So certainly have a look there. If you're new to the show, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to be able to give you some great information. You'll need to know the ropes of the show, however. So each and every Monday at 3 p.m., we actually go live at live stream with video and audio, right? So it's YouTube. And we've been doing this for a little while, so we got this stuff pretty well down. So we'll go live with our interview, as well as have our news desk actually produced during this period of time. And then we'll take everything to audio podcast the very next day. So Tuesdays, usually, we pop both podcasts out there. Then we post everything inside of Edge of the Web, show notes, all the links that we talk about in the show, take the transcripts and write additional blog posts for all the different content that we explore during the show. So we try to make this as valuable to our users as possible. So go over to edgeofthewebradio.com and check out all that. Edge of the Web is actually sponsored by Site Strategics, the title sponsor of the show. We're pioneers in the agile digital marketing front, specializing in SEO, technical SEO, content SEO, semantic SEO, SEM, social media, conversion rate optimization, and the like. So have a look at what we can do. We also do these type of things. We broadcast from our studio, Edge Media Studios, on a regular basis for podcast production, as well as webinars and the like. So if you're interested in what we do, give us a shout at 877-SEO for Web or 877-736-4932. I'd like to introduce to you the producer in the booth, who's also quarantined in there. How you doing, Jacob?
I am loving this glass here.
I can't read you. You can't read.
It's safe. It's safe. It's a safe way to work.
Absolutely.
Everyone should get glass between themselves and their boss.
So for the most part, everybody work inside of a fish tank. That's what you're saying?
Well, it would work. I'm not sure about how, food and bathroom breaks would work from here, but, I'm safe for now, right?
For right now, absolutely. Anything that happens below the desk, I'm fine with. You just take care of that yourself.
I'm only wearing the jacket today.
Okay, that's creepy. All right. I think we need to invest into the cone of silence and just kind of go a little bit further and just have our own individual pods that we can walk around in right now.
I'd be curious to know how many of our listeners and viewers know what the cone of silence is. Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
I do, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's a...
Am I dating myself? Am I showing my age?
We get the guest here later. You're going to ask him if he knows what the cone of silence is. Of course, this gives him time to Google it, so I'm not sure I'm going to trust the answer when he comes back.
For guests, we do want to make sure that you know who's going to be coming up on the show here. Aaron Levy from Tenuity. That's on the 23rd of March. Amy Bishop's talking about PPC on the 30th. John Henshaw is coming on from Coley Wolf, and that's going to be the 6th of April. And we also have Lily Ray coming back around for 2020. So if you're interested in being part of the show, or if you'd like us to talk to somebody who you would want to have on the show as well, just drop us a line over at info@edgeofthewebradio.com, and we can certainly find out if that guest matches what we do on a regular basis. We're always looking for new people to talk to. So set your reminders on YouTube. Make sure you get notified whenever we're live with that show. All right. So Edge fans, we certainly do want to know a little bit more about what you're wanting from this show. So if you go over to edgeofthewebradio.com, you can actually join our anonymous poll and just let us know what would you like to hear more of on the show. It's completely free and email, sans email, so you don't even you have to put that in there. Just let us know how we're doing and give us some input, because we love to be able to steer our content directly to what you're looking for. All right, so that's all the show housekeeping notes. Let's deep dive with this week's featured guest.
Now it's time for Edge of the Web featured interview with JD Prater, Quora Evangelist at Quora.
All right, so JD Prater's in the house. He is the Quora Evangelist, and this is his third time on the show. And boy, I'm getting old because I literally forgot he's on the show before. Does that just tell the story for me? Am I getting that old?
No comment.
No comment. All right. So JD is a keynote speaker and a regular at conferences across the globe, such as Inbound, Brighton SEO, SMX. He's voted number 4 of the most influential digital marketing experts, and he's also a podcast host on Grow with Quora and the PPC show. So a fellow podcaster, welcome to the show, JD.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No, more than welcome, more than welcome. And we certainly want our listeners to check out the news podcast that we did live here today. Had a lot of really good discussions regarding some of the coronavirus news articles as it applies to digital marketing. So check that out as well. So, hey, we just saw you at SMX.
Yeah, so excited to meet in real life. We actually shaked hands because this was before we had the full shutdown. We were hiding behind glass and hiding behind screens now.
Right.
So yeah, we actually got to say hello. In real
those
time.
were the days, weren't they?
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, we had a good conversation out there, and we wanted to get you back on the show. And obviously you are focused on Quora. You're raising visibility of Quora amongst brands and marketers, and you're also the head of product marketing and brand communications there. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a really great, roller coaster ride within Quora. It's been a fun career experience as well, getting to kind of go and start off with this kind of, communications, demand gen background that we're all familiar with, and then kind of move into this product marketing and kind of this brand communications titles and everyday functions, if you will.
You're certainly getting the word out, and your cohort in crime, Joe Martinez, is he's a constant advocate of you and Quora. So I don't know what you did. He's some sort. He's almost cult following. If I could be so bold, the guy is just always about what you're doing over there. So. I don't know.
Yeah, we just pay him in swag. It's amazing what digital marketers will do for some swag.
Give him some pens and some notebooks, and he's happy.
That's right.
Well, JD, give us your backstory again. Let us know how you got to be a brand evangelist for Quora.
Yeah, so that really started off with a blog post. So kind of crazy to think about, but my last 3 roles can all be tied back to a blog post that I wrote. So it's kind of crazy. So I'll kind of walk backwards. So we got involved in the Cora Ads beta when I was a director of marketing at Ad Stage.
Okay.
And so wrote about my experience, pretty in-depth post, right around like 3,000 words. That got the attention of Quora, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to do a webinar?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do a webinar." And then they were like, "Hey, you want to do a case study?" They want to do a podcast, do another podcast. And eventually it became like, "Hey, do you just want to do this full time?" And so I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So that was pretty cool to kind of see how that started. And then in the last, year and a half, being able to this really kind of grow into this role,
right,
and ultimately kind of define how we go to market, really thinking through that positioning, through that messaging. And the great part about it is actually being an advertiser beforehand, being someone who's done PPC. I fully am aware of all of our pain points. And so being able to kind of write to those it's kind of unfair, but yeah, I really like it.
It's the choice job because you can actually fuel product innovation by boots on the ground experiences, and it's a rarity. You don't get to have that particular decision making power. But I mean, how long did it take from your blog post to actually getting fully employed with Quora?
That was right about a year and a half.
That was probably the longest interview you've ever had.
Yeah, it's a good way to think about it. Yeah, we were getting to know each other a little bit better to see if this would be something, right? Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
What an incredible dating period for a job.
That's right.
All right,
that's right.
So hey, just recently, obviously, we're in the throes of a major crisis here, and on your podcast, PPC Chat, you and your co-host, is it Paul, right?
Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, you guys started to talk about a number of things that are changing in the ad space. Facebook and Google are actually banning the use of corona and coronavirus terms. I mean, I wanted to kind of step into this space first and foremost. What are you seeing on the ad platforms, and who do you want to lift up as companies that are actually doing the best?
Yeah, I think Google's doing a really good job. I like that they are banning the use of saying coronavirus. I think that's a really good stance. I've been really impressed with Twitter. So not so much on the ad side, but they were one of the very first platforms to have coronavirus front and center, and with information that was reliable, that incredible, whether that's coming from the WHO or coming from the CDC. And that's really to help mitigate the spread of misinformation. So I say that was really good. And then, we've seen everyone else kind of follow suit between, Facebook, Instagram, Google, Reddit, right? And so I think that's kind of key as well. I really like how they're banning, price gouging. So this might be Amazon. I think Amazon is really, I think maybe they were a little bit late, but once they figured it out, they took decisive action. So that part was good. Yeah. So, and that's, if you haven't heard, that was when people were price gouging for toilet paper and for masks and, hand sanitizer. Yeah.
Those are the three right there. What the hell is it all about with it regarding the toilet paper? I just don't understand.
I don't get it either. I've been at a loss as well, but I finally clicked on one of these headlines that was like, what is the deal with toilet paper? And I think a lot of it was that consumer purchasing in a time of crisis goes back to more utilitarian types of purchase. Yep. And I think that's one. And then two, we associate being clean and sanitary with toilet paper. And it's something that most of us haven't ever had to go without since being born. Right. And so it's been with us, if you will, since the very beginning. Those are the main reasons that I read.
And then I was going to add to that, I think the big fear is also, where is toilet paper made, and are those factories being shut down? And will there be a shortage of toilet paper? Yeah. It's a legit fear.
Yeah, it is. And it's about safety. It's about, you're absolutely right. It's about those most personal of items, and making sure that you're squatting on a nice halibut, right? Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. So YouTube has also demonetized the videos that are sensationalizing any type of corona awareness, and that's very good as well. So in this space, right, and this is why I wanted to bring this subject to bear. We're also dealing with a lot of challenges in the workplace itself. So Google on Tuesday asked North America employees last week to work from home and work from home until April 10th. And Google, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon have all gone remote in a number of fronts and implemented the remote working policies for many or all of their employees around the globe. So there's a mass shift in the culture of support and communication in all these different tech giants. But there's a lot of companies, all of Seattle, all the tech companies of Seattle have gone to remote. We just talked to Brittany Muller from Moz last week, and everybody has gone remote there. So there's a huge challenge here. And JD, we talked before you came online. You've been doing remote for 5 years or so. Can you tell us about your experiences there?
Yeah, so I mean, Quora is a big company where we like people in the office, right? And I've always worked remote like 2 days a week. And then before coming out here, agency world, and then getting started in my career, I actually started off remote. So I've been remote, for about 5 years of my career, and I actually really enjoy it. I'm way more productive at home. I like no visual distractions, people walking by all the time, or going to the bathroom, getting snacks, talking in the hallway, right? I find that very distracting. So I'm happy to share some of, my tips. I just put together some for Quora. We're now in our second week as well of going remote. And so I put together, let's see here. I got a doc open here with 18 of my tips. And then I worked with a few of my friends and bosses who have kids, and we came up with an additional 6. So I guess that's 24 total of tips for working remote. That way our team, who's never really done it, at least have some ideas of how to be productive.
Absolutely. So we're certainly going to grab those. Let's go through a few of those tips, JD, if you wouldn't mind teeing up a few.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some that are super easy. I think the most obvious ones is a defined workspace, but I'm going to skip the less obvious and kind of go into the ones where I think if you've been doing this for a while, you can relate. So one of them is, let me see here. Don't forget to eat. I know this is weird.
That's true.
Whenever food isn't readily available, or a lot of times people have the work culture where you go out to lunch, right? You forget to eat. And, it's easier than you think. Same with hydration. I'll just forget to drink water, or I drink too much coffee all morning, right? And so I think that's a really big one, which the second one means also make time for lunch, which means getting away from your computer, getting away from your screen. Right. Give yourself that mental break. Also, your eyes need a break as well. So, take some time, even if it's only 15 minutes, walk away, get some food. I also like to use this time to go walk my dogs. So I try to get outside, just for that mental break, get some fresh air in my lungs, and just let the sun hit me. It's so refreshing to have.
What you're doing is really disrupting some level of just not only your psychology, but keeping things moving and moving away from complacency, or moving away from the doldrums, or whatever you want to talk about it. But you also lose efficiency if you're in the spot at the same time.
That's right.
There is that workspace where a focused, good amount of effort is around 2.5 hours of good, strong focus on a particular execution. But after that, you can lose focus. So you got to be disciplined to be able to disrupt this what do you want to call it? The biorhythm that you've got, right?
Yeah, it's 100% true. I mean, even just standing up, it just feels good.
Yeah.
I'll give you 2 more that I found. So that extra time that you would use commuting, right? So you made 20 minutes, 15 minutes, could be an hour commute that you may have, right? Use that time to tidy up the house. This is a great time to feel productive, and it kind of gets you into productivity mode, but also clean. Oh, wow. I'm much more, I say productive and efficient when my workspace is clean, my house is clean. I'm not constantly thinking about it, Could be starting some laundry. And then the last one is this feeling of guiltiness. So if you've never worked remote, you will probably, I think, over-index on being tied to Slack or being tied to your email, because you want people to think, I'm working, I'm here, I promise, right? Right. And don't feel so guilty about that. I think this is where you want to work with your boss, work with your team, that having immediacy may not be always true, because if I'm in the office and I let a Slack go and I miss a message, I don't respond right away, no one cares. But all of a sudden, if I'm at home, you think that people are going to care, even if I'm just walking to, use the restroom or having some lunch. So I would say be careful with that guiltiness. And then this is brand new for me. So I have a 1.5 year old and now parents. I don't know if you're like me, but my daycare is shut down, right? So we don't, right now it's my wife and I. She's also a full-time remote worker. And so now we're going back and forth on, who can sit where. But I think a couple of things that are key here is work when the kids are asleep as much as possible. So maybe getting up before them during nap time, post bedtime. These are all like good times.
Yep.
Also setting that expectation maybe with your colleagues. And then try to stagger schedules. So this is day one. Meg and I are testing this out. So I hung out with our kid Jude this morning, and now he's in nap time. So I'm here on the podcast, and now she'll then take the afternoon shift. So we're trying to split the schedule and see how that works. So I'd love to hear from you guys, though. If you guys have great work from home tips, please let me know, especially if you're parents, because this is beyond uncharted. This is like literally the first time we've had to like actually deal with this.
There's a lot of undiscovered country, especially for companies that have not experienced this before. There's a number of challenges that they're going to be having with management of their employees because it's always been in-house. So it's not just the worker, it's also the management of the organization, and not. And the challenge is not to expect the same potential things that you've expected in-house. I mean, there's certainly at-home challenges, but it's honestly, it's about work effort. It's not about clocking in. It's not about that timekeeping nearly as much as is everything getting done. So, I mean, those are
good point.
Those are some great topics there. But some of the challenges that are in the space of the remote worker are managing projects, the remote collaboration, right? Just tracking the tasks and productivity. Everything's assuming that for remote work that they've already had Slack or they already had CRMs or more importantly, some project tools to be able to track the performance or behavior. Sometimes whenever this is foisted upon you, you haven't explored what tools are out there, especially if you're doing global type of remote work. You've got language and cultural changes. Those things are pretty darn important. At the end of the day, you got to build and maintain trust with your colleagues and with the group that you're working with. Yeah.
Oh, I think that's key. That's spot on, is trust. You know, it's like we hired these people to do a job. I'm going to trust them. I'm going to give them the autonomy to do their job. And of course, I'm also going to lean on them for deliverables, right? If the work isn't getting done, that's a different conversation. And I think I don't want to start the conversation with, I don't trust you. I want to start the conversation with, how can I support you? What tools do you need? You know, what things are falling off in order to help you be successful during this time?
Absolutely. So we're going to get into a few of those tools, but before anything, I just wanted to park ourselves in understanding that dealing with distractions is a huge factor. When you're at home, you are wired differently than what you're expecting to do at work. Obviously, it goes without saying, but you're conditioned. You're conditioned by having fun at home, cooking at home, eating, cleaning, watching TV at home. Those are all habitual things that you're doing at work. So now you're in a whole different space that you weren't really prepared for. Is those things are still there, and everybody's binging on Netflix, right? It's a click away, and if you're actually running a Netflix show and trying to do your job, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work.
It's not going to happen. Yeah. This is where going back to my first tip. Defined workspace is key, and so you know. Meg and I have a defined office that we use. It's just the guest room, you know, and so it's where our desks are, our extra monitors are. And again, we're lucky enough to, have this muscle that's been exercised and, been developed. Whereas I know a lot of people are coming into this brand new. And I think any way that you can separate yourself. So definitely don't use your bed. Don't use the couch. Like I'm more okay with the kitchen table, it's maybe not as ergonomically correct, but at least you're on like a harder surface and you're using this space, and hopefully there's a window nearby so you're getting some natural light, right? And I think those things are all key.
Absolutely. I mean, avoid the places in your home that you directly associate with comfort, right?
Bed isn't going to work. And also just I know some people love having like a movie in the background or TV in the background. That's never worked for me. So Meg and I have always found that to be distracting. I even find like music in the background distracting. So you won't, if you come to our house, it sounds like a library when Meg and I are working, just because neither one of us like background noise.
Right. Right, absolutely. So from a resource standpoint, I mean, those are some of the challenges, obviously, and companies need to be aware. It's not only comfort, it's not only distractions, it's also morale. Morale is going to suffer unless you have a counterbalance of connectivity and communication like that. So, for example, there is something that's starting to grow right now that we've never seen before. There's a remote work. Not only a hashtag, but there's a remote work support system that's organically being created. We want to tip the hat to Alita Solis because she's actually running with this and opening up for visibility. There's a Discord channel for remoters that you could jump into. It's been set up by Alita Solis, and there's a number of channels inside of that. So go look for remote workers. Well, I think it's remoteworkers.net it's the remote water cooler is the conversation. That's pretty cool.
Like that.
And there's so many channels inside there. For example, remote with guides, a number of different links and references to some of these tools that we're going to be mentioning, remote jobs, even work from home remote job availability inside that Discord channel. Also helping businesses to get online. Like we talked about earlier on the news, SEOs are actually in the channel creating a resource for companies who aren't online, and that's helpingSmallBusiness.co.uk. So there's some really cool things out there, and we do want to actually reference some of these remote working checklists, and there's a couple really cool links out there that we're going to put in the show notes. One of them is the new work from home worker checklist, and JD, your checklist is fantastic. We're going to be putting that online, but just some brief things that Alita actually wrote about. You need to have a fast, reliable, and secure internet connection.
Yep, 100%.
Absolutely. A specific, quiet a home office space with comfortable furniture to work in. That's exactly what you're talking about as well. Invest in gadgets to help you focus and communicate with your team, like sound isolating headphones with a quality mic and camera. That's actually a really good idea because you're in the environment of home, especially if you have kids and schools are shut down, is that you're prone to distraction just because of all the noise. Canceling out that sound is probably a really good step. Set clear communication protocols with your team for remote interaction. That's what you're talking about, JD, is making sure that you're not overzealous and constantly pegging people, but you actually have check-in times and whatnot, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. I think I'll add to that one because I think it's a good point. Social Zooming. So if you have Zoom, I'm a big fan of Zoom. We use Zoom at Quora. Just setting up time. Like if you're working from home and you're not used to this, like, meeting with your team. And like, this is literally just a BS time. Like take 20 minutes and just like check in. How's it going, guys? And just have some time, just like you would in the office to, check in with your friends,
Absolutely.
You can also do it for lunchtime. I've seen some people doing is like, hey, you want to grab some lunch? Yeah, everyone, join this chat room at lunchtime, and we're all just going to sit here and hang out and have lunch and just talk. I think it's a great way to stay connected.
Absolutely, use the technology that we have. I mean, I am concerned about the Zoom servers and the Skype servers, and
I know
that technology is going to have a weight on it, right?
I'm impressed with Zoom. I they must have opened up some new servers or done something with AWS because it has been flawless. I give them so much credit for handling this so well, uninterrupted, because the only time I ever complain is when it doesn't work, and I haven't complained yet.
Yep, absolutely. So we're really excited about, that infrastructure being in place because we wouldn't have had it 10 years ago. And
that's right.
We wouldn't be able to do what we're doing here on the show. So have a look at that checklist. There's a lot of really good points to secure your consistency, your work atmosphere. But on top of that, companies, business owners need to look at that checklist as well because you need to know what you're about to get into and how you can set expectations and boundaries as well to get the most efficient work out of your employees. So with that said, there's certainly a good deal of opportunity to learn and listen in this new space that we're in. So JD's been reaching out and being able to really share some great points there. And we want our community to go check out those posts. So we'll certainly get it on the YouTube channel as well as the Edge Notes. So for everybody who's listening, be sure to jump into the YouTube channel that we've got. Hit the bell so you can actually get reminded reminded whenever we go live, because we're talking about very topical things just like this. Especially if you're working from home, right? Because, well, I guess I was championing not getting distracted, but this is a good distraction.
This is learning.
This is learning, exactly. Right. So let's pivot around and start learning about Quora. So let's get into some of the information about this. It's a great advertising opportunity with Quora, but for our audience members that don't know what Quora is, can you briefly describe the platform?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of people know Quora as the world's largest question and answer website. So hands down, that's like the quickest way to understand this. And like, it's really a place where people go to learn more about the world around them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of like the best way to kind of think through it. And we do this again through either asking questions or answering, right? We believe everybody, you, me, everyone listening is an expert in something. And all of that knowledge is inside your head, and we want to make that available to the rest of the world. And that's how we do it on Quora, is by coming in, answering those questions, sharing that knowledge, and really helping other people elevate their game.
It's on any topic in any industry. I mean, it's there are questions and answers that range all over the place, and Joe and I are always going into Star Trek and Star Wars. I mean, he is such a deep Star Wars geek. Man, it is scary. It is scary.
It is. It's 100% scary. Yes.
But if you want to see something that's even more scarier, so to speak, is dive into the Quora Q&A on Star Wars. So, some great communication there, and a lot of subject matter experts and just passionate fans. So it's not just an industry. It's not just professional concepts. There's all sorts of interests in this space, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that what you hit on is, some reasons why people come to Quora. So some people come to be inspired. They come to be entertained, right?
Yep.
And I can read someone's answer and be entertained by that. And I really like that. I think a lot of times I also go to evaluate products. If I'm on the B2B side, I might want to go hear how actual customers and users of this product are talking about it and answering questions about it, right?
Absolutely.
I might want to go, conduct some research. It's a great place for like market research to better understand your audience, to get content ideas. And honestly, sometimes you just come to be surprised because you never know who's actually going to answer your questions.
Right.
So don't be surprised if you see some celebrities in there sometimes.
And that's what's amazing, is that they're answering a lot of questions, and so Quora has evolved obviously over the years here, and it's certainly a Q&A environment, but there's a lot of professional titles that are getting in there, and it's some place where you can really groom and display your subject matter expertise, and it's a fantastic way to align yourself with brands as well, and you can create new audiences via Quora emails as well. So let's shift into 100%. What the platform is evolving right now. Is Quora Ads. It's a very loyal audience that's inside of Quora, and for those participants, they'll come back daily to the Quora space, kind of similar to Reddit in that way. There are a lot of good tribal followings inside of Quora. So let's talk about the ad platform for a second. It's a self-service ad platform, and advertisers can create native text-based ads targeting users by interest, geography, and platform, both mobile, desktop, or both, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I think that's what's really cool. Like, we had just talked about why people are coming here, and the question and answer, and what they're doing is they're actively learning. Right. So you're able to reach a highly relevant and high intent audience. I think that's what's key. And there's over 300 million people coming every single month to Quora.
Wow.
And so between, we don't really get a lot of press or talked about a lot, but yeah, whenever you compare us to Facebook at like 3 billion, right? We're a drop in the bucket. We're only 10% of that audience. But, when I say 300 million, that's only English. That's English only. We just launched into 24 different languages over the last year and a half. So we're hoping to be sharing some updated, stats. We'll see. We'll see if we can, convince the exec team to let us reveal some of those.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But I think it's really cool. And you were talking about some of those different platforms. One of the key benefits of Quora Ads too is you're actually reaching an unduplicated audience. And so what I mean by that is 54% of our audience is not on Reddit. 49% of our audience is not on LinkedIn.
Oh, wow.
That's huge. So if you're only doing like B2B marketing on LinkedIn, you're missing 50% of the audience by not even coming to Quora. Or Instagram, hugely popular, right? Only 34% of our audience is on Instagram. And, I don't know who this 34% is that isn't on Instagram, but, it's one of those things where you have to think about, am I actually reaching my audience and am I reaching them only in, places that are extremely popular like Facebook and Instagram and Google? They're also getting more expensive. I think we can all agree with that. Yep. And so I think it's time to evaluate, maybe diversify some of your ad budgets and take a look. I mean, go take a look at Reddit. Go take a look at Quora, because we do have very dedicated audiences and we have very different offerings as well. So as you were talking about with our targeting is top notch. We can drill down to a specific question someone may have. We can target the last 30 days of people who read that question. Right. So we can go backwards in time, which is also key. And if you guys have listened to Joe Martinez talk, that Joe loves putting on that Quora pixel. It's free, making some remarketing audiences to understand how many people visited my site are also on Quora. That'll give you a really fast indication to see if your audience is on Quora. You can also upload those email lists and we can do some audience match.
Absolutely. So it's a very robust platform, and it's certainly evolved here over the last couple of years. But here's the thing about Quora that no other platform, save Reddit, actually does, is that this is an active pursuit of answering a question, and it's a loyal environment where there's lift of great answers, and
that's right.
there's it's not a casual environment like Facebook or Twitter in that respect. This is people on an active pursuit of a question and multiple questions sometimes regarding a solution. So this actually gives any brand that's actually providing services a great opportunity to demonstrate their subject matter expertise, not exploit the space, right, but actually give a very good qualified answer. And JD, I think you mentioned when we were over at SMX that there was the founder of DuckDuckGo actually answered a particular question. Tell me about that particular question and how many views of that question they've had.
Yeah, this is insane. So DuckDuckGo, you guys are familiar with them, probably don't use them, right? So I think they have like 1% of market share, but they're a privacy first search engine, right? So they're not tracking you and actively tracking you, right? So everything that they're doing is contextually relevant. Well, their CEO noticed there's a lot of questions about them and about their competitors on Quora.
Right.
So what does he do? He jumps in and he starts answering questions. This is the CEO of DuckDuckGo. And what ended up happening was his organic lift just took off, right? So people started upvoting, people started liking it because he came in with a really high value answer as the CEO, right? So you talk about thought leadership, you're talking about that domain expertise, and he's able to establish it. And then the second piece to that is he now is promoting that answer. So he can promote that answer with one of our ad units called Promoted Answers. So he's actually taking that answer, putting money behind it, and pushing it out to a highly relevant audience that he wants to reach.
Right.
That his next phase of advertising is actually all of his ads. So his Twitter ads, his Facebook ads, his Reddit ads are actually all going to that Quora answer because there's so much social proof now on that answer. And now they've racked up over 1.8 billion views. Billion. We see case studies all the time where people are like, yeah, I reached 50 million people with my YouTube video. And I'm no. 1.8 billion views.
You just want to do the little Dr. Evil.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, I know. It's ooh, billion. I know.
That's amazing.
You can't even fathom. It's such a big number. You can't. I literally can't even fathom 1.8 billion. So kind of crazy.
So you're not promising those type of numbers, but
hey, if you want to spend, you can make it happen.
there you go. There you go. But what a great scenario, because it was I think it was like 3,000 words or something like that. The post was. So it was deep subject matter, and it was directly aligned to what DuckDuckGo does best and what they champion themselves is not tracking you in search. So it made perfect sense to be there because the question was out there, and an answer from the CEO of an organization is a huge factor of kind of breaking that company edifice and participating in the social engagement. So that's where Quora really excels, is that if you do it right, and if you're not, people can sniff out spam, they can sniff out spin. But if you actually start contributing into Quora and actually start talking, then you start building up that expertise that you'll have brand alignment if you're actually sharing good information, not only about your product, but also the problems that people are experiencing on what your project actually solves, right?
Yeah, I think too many people try to come in and do some selling.
Yeah.
And you're 100% correct. Like, everyone can sniff that out. And guess what? You're probably going to get downvoted. You're probably going to get reported for spam. So come in and provide value. Answer the question. Understand the pain points that me as someone looking for an answer is going to have, right? I think one of the questions that he answered was like, how does Google track me? And like the CEO of DuckDuckGo he lists all the ways of how they do it technically. And then he just espouses at the end, are you okay with that? Like, if not, check out my service, right? And I think that makes sense because you've provided the answer, which is what I'm looking for.
Right.
And now you're giving me the next step, right? If I've subscribed to your worldview, that's the next step. The next step is go check out DuckDuckGo. It's not DuckDuckGo this, DuckDuckGo that. Right. It's like, what? No, I want to know how Google tracks me.
Right.
So explain that to me and then sell me on something, right? Yeah, I think that's what's key.
It's not a hard push. If it solves your question, here's the opportunity to step off and be able to check the services. And that is so different than omni-channel full push of all the different ads and across different platforms. This is a very delicate space, and you got to, and you can see when brands do it wrong. They're falling on their face and they're just overreaching, and it's very rudimentary what they're trying to do. So, wanted to get into a number of the different ad functions that you've got in Quora. The promoted answers is obviously what we've been talking about here, but there's also, and we weren't able to talk about it whenever Joe was here, and that is the lead gen forms, and it's still in beta.
Yeah.
So give us some download on the lead gen, man.
Yeah, so that's coming. So we're hoping to be able to launch that probably next month. So maybe in April, if not early May. So we've got some other things in the works, like a new Ads Manager Redesign. Oh, like that one's under works. You're going to see that one come out in a couple of weeks. So that's the first time we've announced that one. But with lead gen forms, what you're going to be able to do is it's going to look very, very similar to how LinkedIn does it. So copying them in a lot of ways. Hey, it's a sincere form of flattery, right? Yep. And so what you're able to do is you're able to take your text ad or your image ad, and then you're able to then pair it with a form. And that's ultimately what a lead gen form is. So your image ad, text ad will still look the same. When someone clicks on it, it opens up a form, and then this form will auto-populate the information that we have about said user. Sweet. If not, then they will be asked to then fill it out. So if we don't know their company name or like website, for example, they'll fill that out. And then the next be the third page. So it's the image ad, text ad, then the form, and then there'll be the confirmation page as the final step. And that confirmation page, you can either then link back to your website. You could also link them to the downloadable. And then from there, we're working with Zapier. So if you're not familiar with Zapier, it's able to automate a lot of that workflow. In the meantime, we're working on some potential CRM integrations. So look for that hopefully in 2020.
Excellent. And that's the best news of all, is that it's got a full lead flow directly into different CRMs. So there's not a manual entry, and that didn't exist a couple months ago. You didn't have
That's correct.
You didn't have that relationship. So kudos for you on that. Now,
we're getting there. we gotta catch up to the big guys.
Oh yeah. Well, you're doing great. Now, at the same time, there's a when to actually have the form and when not to have the form, and you don't want to be considered a brand that's holding back an answer to get leads. This is really going to be a space where, if you want to know more, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, how I like to think through this is, really thinking through your offer. Like, you got to have a great offer.
Sure.
And then I think the next part of this is understanding Cora's audience really is, I'm going to say, like, mid-funnel. And that's the best way to think about it. We're not in Google search. We're not up here at like social, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm just kind of passively browsing. We really are in this, like, I'm actively learning, I'm looking for an answer, I'm researching, I'm evaluating. So make sure that your offer aligns to that in order to get the best possible result. So think about your higher funnel offers. Those tend to work a lot better because you need to be able to introduce and have that value exchange. So if I'm going to give you my information, it needs to be a high value asset, not just like a webinar, right? We see people trying or like book a demo. It's like, I don't even know who you are. Why am I booking a demo? And I know marketers, you want your ROI. I know you've got to get that, but you're probably going to have a higher CPL if you're doing those bottom of the funnel lead drivers. Whereas if you're doing a piece of content, that thought leadership piece, you're able to get, leads for much cheaper.
Absolutely. You got to be careful about what the ask is, and you got to give enough value there. I mean, hey, come on, you're dating here, and don't get too pushy, right? You got to be able to provide this information. Now, some great information that you can call: first name, last name, email, business email, phone number, job title, company name, company size, as well as location information, city, state, zip code as well. U.S. only right now. So
that's only right now.
That's a good set of information there. That can get piped directly into CRM. So you got that over there, right? And everybody wants to gather around the lead gen because that's the sexiest thing in the room, right?
That's right.
But you also are rolling out business profiles as well.
That's right.
So unpack that for us.
Yeah, so business profiles currently are in beta, and what it allows you to do. So just like on Quora, most people write as a user. You can now come in and write as a business. And so this is going to feel and look very much like how LinkedIn does it, like how Facebook does it. So where you have this high-level business account and users are admins of it, right? So you can't have one without the other. You can't, you got to have a business account and you have to have users tied to it. But what it allows, you to do is come in and answer a question as a business. It also means that you as a user don't necessarily have to, like, quote unquote, write about your business and then leave your company, and now all those answers are kind of out there for no reason, right? We see those are kind of the main pain points that we're solving within the business profiles in its current iteration. There's some talk that we may be looking at some ways to improve that with higher level analytics, being able to then surface content about your brand to you. So we're hoping in the next couple of months to be able to roll out a full-fledged of what this may look like coming into the real world with some really cool features.
And that's really important because you're absolutely right, is that equity loss when potentially an employee leaves the firm. You want to be able to have that value associated to the brand and not just drift off because, whether or not you're compensating somebody or not for creating good subject matter expertise content, it is related to your brand, is it not?
Yeah, that's true. And some things that we've learned in we've only been in beta for roughly 6-ish months. Talking with brands, it's also like understand that people are going to be skeptical of you. It's just go to Twitter, right? I'm skeptical when brands jump in. So make sure that you have a unique point of view, and that I would even be more cautious in your selling approach.
Right.
Really come in and provide a ton of value in order to meet me where I am to accept brand answers. So, think about that. I think answers that make sense for brands to definitely jump in. Any like FAQ,
right.
I think is a great way. It's like, why use this product? Or have you ever had this experience with X? That's a great time to jump in and say, hey, check this out. We have this resource page. Hey, check out our case studies, and it's a way for you to be authentic on the platform.
Very good. And not so much utilitarian, although it is, but you're delivering something. You're delivering quality content. It's not superficial in nature. It's actually a very good value. All right. So with that, last thing along the line here, give us an idea. What is the roadmap that you guys are actually working on?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of different things. So I just sneak peeked a new Ads Manager. So we're going to be doing pushing out a new redesigned Ads Manager. So everything will function just about the same, but it's going to look awesome. Cool. It's much better look. I think you'll end up finding it smoother and faster to create campaigns.
Cool.
So we're pretty excited about that. We've solved a few like user problems, but what this new design allows us to do is iterate much faster. So I think by the end of this year, you're going to see a lot of problems that you would like to be solved. Like being able to like bulk edit, bulk create, just like you would within Facebook or in Google. Right now, it's a little tedious right now in Quora, and so we're trying to make sure that your ROI of time isn't a limitation for you to be spending and seeing success on Quora. So I think that will be key. We're going to be looking into the promoted answers. So you'll see us make some iterations on those to give you guys some new metrics. So I think that one will be a really fun one to iterate on.
Very good.
You might even see lead gen forms in a promoted answer. Whoa.
Don't tease us there.
Whoa. Like, it's on the table. It's not on the roadmap just yet, but it's something that we're definitely talking about internally is being able to combine two ad units outside of image and text ads. What would it look like if you had a promoted answer and at the bottom there was a CTA that led to a lead gen form?
Right.
So we're working on it. We got some mock-ups. I wouldn't say it's on the roadmap just yet, but don't be afraid to tweet at us if you think that's really cool.
Absolutely, and you guys are certainly responsive on feedback. But yeah, I mean, you're evolving the interface to kind of the standards that we're used to on the other platforms, and there's a good deal of understanding as well. Here's one of the benefits of Quora that we kind of skipped past here. I do want to circle back around and kind of codify this here, is that it's a great SEO benefit for your organization, some good inbound authority. But here's the deal, is that you can also crowdsource understanding of answers, understanding of questions, I'm sorry, and be able to see what people, we see that people also ask snippets inside of Google. This is the stuff that is almost that on steroids plus, because you've got so much relevant information there. Literally, from a content engagement standpoint, it kind of writes itself. You could literally roll this content out on your own site, answering those same types of questions, and what a great value it is, just understanding consumer intent and what the problems are they need solving, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love that use case for market research. Understanding what your market is asking for, what are the questions they have. It allows you to then take that information, write a blog about it. Right. And then I highly encourage all content marketers, now take that blog and make that your answer. Right. Just make sure that you link it to the source, right? And that's all we're asking for, is to give it attribution. Or your title, right? Your title has to say, I'm a content manager or whatever, right? We also want transparency. We also want to build that trust in that knowing where this content is coming from. But there is no rule against you taking an answer that lives somewhere else outside of Quora and to put it onto Quora. Again, our mission is sharing and growing the world's knowledge. And we want people to be able to find your answer or find, your unique perspective. And that's one way you guys can easily do that.
It's a great platform. Well, thank you for unpacking these. And we're certainly going to be checking back in because I think your ad platform is one of the fast movers. And it's also matching this fractionalized audience that we're starting to see. They're breaking away from mainstream social media ads. There's a numbing effect that's in the main spaces, and Cora's always been answering, no pun intended, answering questions, but it's also been a very valuable asset for individuals to be able to get their expertise across. And with this new ad platform, it really does connect businesses to exactly who is looking for that solve, and more so than any Facebook campaign. Let's all be honest, is that I'm not looking for a solution to my application problem on the engine that I'm working on inside of Facebook. It's going to be inside of Quora. It's going to be inside of areas in which I can actually get a bloody answer, right?
Yeah, I think that's what's key, is really understanding that. I came across some answers over the weekend as I was getting a little bogged down in my own social media time. I was heading over to Quora, and a lot of people were answering, they don't see Quora as social media. And so a lot of that toxicity that goes along with social media, right? So a lot of people say Twitter's very toxic. They'll say Facebook is a lot of like false news, misinformation, right? I mean, we hear this all the time. But they come to Quora for retreat. And because they feel productive, they feel like learning something. And that's something I think tapping into that mental model is really key, is people aren't coming here because they're bored. They're actually coming here to learn something.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not really social. It's they're looking for a core solution. And then while they're there, they'll also see associated tangential concepts next to their main pursuits. So it's kind of like you fall into the YouTube trap, right, where you got all the associated content, and all of a sudden you've lost time, like you've been abducted by aliens, right? It very well can happen inside of Quora. Trust me, I've been there, especially on the Star Wars side. Literally, I've lost days if you compound it all. All right, well, JD, we thank you so much for being on the show again, and kudos for you in the evangelist space. Keep on doing the good work and raising awareness of this platform, because it is a very good platform to be able to specialize your delivery of your message in. So with that, we always want to ask of our guests, last point. So what really kind of bugs you in your industry right now?
What bugs me right now is probably short-termism. It's how quick we are expecting results and measurement. And so I am a very much, even in my own personal life, a long-term investor. So I know the stock market's crashing, but I'm hoping in 30 years from now, all my investments pay off, right? And I think right now, what we see with a lot of performance marketers is like this day after day performance checking, hour after hour, coming in and checking performance. And sometimes it just takes a week, it takes a month, right? And there is context into everything that's happening, whether that's an algo change or whether that's coronavirus in the world right now. And I think just being able to take a longer term view is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. We're hyper reactionary, and we're always looking for the quick win. And it's, in SEO world, we've also kind of suffered from that same thing, because things are moving so quickly. We can see results. I mean, literally, I used to see results in 6 months after the efforts were deployed.
Exactly.
Now we're literally seeing indexing and featured questions pop up within days. That is crazy.
Wow, that's crazy.
It is nuts.
That's crazy.
Well, conversely, what excites you about your industry you're in right now?
What excites me more than anything right now is I think advertisers specifically that are understanding the inputs they put in directly correlate to the outputs, right? So what I mean by that is, with Google and Facebook getting more algorithmically driven, using their machine learning, using their AI, what's going to be more important than anything else is the inputs. And a lot of the things that you can control specifically are the ad creative. I think we're going to see a resurgence in ad creative, because I think when you think about Facebook and Instagram specifically,
right,
they can't do that for you. They can control your budget. They can control your bid. They can control your audience, whether that's lookalike audiences, but they can't control the image that you select, the text that you're putting in.
Yep.
And the winners that I'm seeing on social right now are the ones that do creative really well.
Very good. No, I mean, they even have the dynamic programming where it'll try to match 4,000 different permutations off of that. And that's just scary in its own right, because you can launch that creative piece into a brick wall unless you're actually guiding it correctly. But you're absolutely right, is that there's no shortcut for quality creative, right?
That's right. That's right. You know, it's tough because I think we're so used to a lot of control, and that some of that control is being taken away. But just knowing where you can have control and focus on that, double down on that.
All right. So while we say that, we certainly want to get you as a user in control of your Quora account. So jump over to Quora user and become a user and engage with the community. See how we did that? That
was nice. I like it. It was a really good segue.
Be sure to check out all the trending news over at our news podcast that we did here earlier. It's the bonus podcast episode and the bonus YouTube upload. And you probably check those out here. We actually did live this time, so they're there for the taking. So jump in there. JD, thank you so much. We want to make sure our audience knows where to track you down. On Twitter, it's JD Prater. LinkedIn, it's JD Prater. And Quora, of course, is JD Prater.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
All right. So, any final thoughts for our digital marketing audience and our remote working audience?
Yeah, hey guys, where everyone is in the same boat. Empathy. You know, have a little bit more patience this week. Have a little bit more feelings for your small businesses, for your coworkers, for your boss. You know. That's kind of my, 2 cents, is just a little bit of empathy can go a long way this week.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks so much for your time today, JD. We always appreciate it. And hopefully we can get you around to a 4th time here in the near future.
That's right.
We're having a race now. We have a number of guests that have rung that third time bell. So thanks so much. And that just shows you that JD's on the straight and narrow, man. He's always digging up some great information. So thanks so much for your time.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. All right. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the Edge of the Web on YouTube. And if you're really feeling up to it today, go over to our iTunes podcast and give us a review. We'd certainly appreciate it. We try really hard to give you some great information on a regular basis and keep you up to date with the news. So give us a little bit of love in that space. Remember, sharing is caring when it gets down to what we're doing on the show. Check out all the must-see videos and much more over at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's edgeofthewebradio.com. Next week, we're talking to Aaron Levy of Tenuity. And with that, from all of us over at Edge of the Web, be safe, be secure, and do not be a piece of cyber driftwood. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.